Did you know that there's a victim loop and a creator loop, and that you can actually switch between both of them at any time, at any moment? Aloha, my beautiful one. If this is your first time here, welcome to Unraveling, the podcast for highly sensitive and witchy ADHDers, or anyone who's neurospicy and likes to listen to things about energy. My name is May. I'm your neurospicy cyberwitch, and I support you with all kinds of things, and especially in this podcast about unraveling those things. And right now I'm doing a series on showing you how to get from overwhelm to self-trust, self-empowerment. And today I want to talk to you about especially that thing. And this goes for anyone who is interested in energy things. And I think I spoke about it a little bit in the last episode as well, where we talked about, that we have this angel, sort of like the angel and devil on your shoulders, or if you want to choose that story of the wolves, where you choose whichever wolf you want to feed, whether it's the light one or the dark one. And that's the thing, that we have this very creative power. And I want to go a little bit deeper into this because it keeps coming up. And especially this week, it came up again with in a talk with a dear friend of mine, where we went into, how there's people that, that think about energy vampires. And I don't want to deny that they exist, like that there's just people who drain energy in that way. But I believe that it doesn't matter whether they exist or not, because it's on us to choose whether we allow us to, be drained energetically or not, whether we, and I'm trying to say it very carefully, because I know sometimes it doesn't feel like it, because we feel like we don't have the power. But trust me, this is something that you can actually choose. And I can still remember that one moment where I was, in this case, it wasn't as much as someone draining my energy, but it was more of my empathic side, my highly sensitive side, being very sensitive to a specific person's, negative thoughts. It was their depression that was jumping onto my field very strongly. And I remember at some point realizing, no, it's my energy field and I'm not allowing this. And I remember how empowering that felt. And that's why I'm telling you, because that's the empowerment that we need to make sure and to make ourselves aware. It's our energy field, and we are allowed to say stop. We're allowed to say no. We're allowed to set the boundaries for it. And sometimes those boundaries, it doesn't mean just, internally, like, okay, I'm not allowing this energy to enter my field, but actually really saying, dude, this is where, this is my border. I don't want you to go any further here, right? Because I know we tend to, especially for the highly, highly hypersensitive people like we are sometimes, we allow all of those things to be felt in our field. We get tired, we get overwhelmed, we get everything because we're feeling someone else's emotions. And again, I don't want to deny that they exist, and I don't want to deny that they enter our field. But, and here comes the other thing that I feel is very important for, these two options that we have, the victim and the creator mode, is to understand that I have, if for any emotion that I feel inside of myself, if I allow myself, again, it's all about the allowance. If I allow myself to take responsibility for the emotion and to look at it. Why am I feeling this fear? Why am I feeling this anger? And not have the answer, oh, it's that person. Not go in the outside. Don't go in the outside. Go inside. Just towards yourself. For me, I remember reading it, I think it was in the book Zero Limits from Joe Vitale. I think that's where I read it the first time, and later all of my Hawaiian teachers that I had explained it to me in the same way, and or maybe in different ways, but it all came down to this: whatever you're feeling inside reflects to the outside. So the outside world is what I think. I think you remember that's what we did in the last, in the last video as well. So I want to give you this again to go a little bit deeper. Imagine that everybody out there is an actor that was hired by the universe to show you what's inside of you. So now let's go back to this moment that we are, that we feel someone else's energy and we feel like we're being completely, I'm going to call it possessed by the energy of someone else. That energy can only anchor so deeply inside of you because there is something inside of you resonating with it. And I'm not saying that, like in the example that I just said with the depressed person, that I was depressed myself or in the same way as the person. But there's some form of energy happening there that is docking onto my energy too. So if I learn to recognize which is that part that I carry inside of myself, why am I so sad? What are the things that I'm sad about in my own life? If we're taking the depression as is, if it's anger, it doesn't have to be the same anger. You don't have to be angry about the same thing. It can be something similar, something that is just plainly the energy of anger that is docking onto your energy of anger. So what kind of anger is there, right? And I can tell you as someone that used to say, no, I'm not angry, because all the spiritual paths are like, oh no, we have to be all love and light and everything has to be, peachy and glittery and everything has to, no, it's not. And we're allowed to have negative emotions as well because they belong to us as humans. And with that said, how often are you not allowing yourself to be angry, right? Or to feel the anger for yourself? Sometimes we need to be angry. Sometimes, but the thing is, the thing is that because we've been bottling it up so much, the moment it comes out, it just feels like it's overwhelming and it's too much, and it's just it breaks everything. But sometimes we need anger, and if it's aligned anger, aligned emotion that is showing you to craft something new, that's something way different. And that's what I'm trying to say. Like the moment that we, instead of blaming everything on the outside, and that's a victim mode. I'm in victim mode and victim loop. If I'm saying, it's this person's energy, it's because of that person, right? That I'm going through all of this, that I'm being so overwhelmed, that I'm feeling like this, right? If I shift that, and instead of wallowing inside of the victim mode and shift it to make myself aware that I am the creator, I can create things and I can take responsibility for the anger I'm feeling, for the sadness I'm feeling, for because all the good ones, we always love good feelings, right? That's why I'm just taking the negative ones as examples. But fear, sadness, pain, grief, there's so many, right? There's so many, and we always prefer to tuck them away. But what if instead of tucking them away, you allow yourself to take responsibility and to look at it and then to start transforming it? Because if you make yourself aware of certain sadnesses, and I'm going to give you examples that I've lived through that help me and that I know are not coming back now, right? One of the examples that I had with the whole depression that I just gave you as an example happened to me way back when I was coming out of my own depression. So that was very, weirdly in there. But one thing, I don't know if you belong to those, because I know that sometimes we want to be there's introverted neurospicy people, and there's extroverted neurospicies, and of course the mix, right? I think that I'm a mix, but my introvertedness is a bigger part of my life. So usually I tend to do that, but I didn't know that way back then. And I remember that there were moments where I would be in a crowd and feel loneliness. And of course, again, I could, and I probably did back then a couple of times, inside of the victim loop. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm feeling someone else's loneliness, and now I'm feeling it too. And now I'm going through the whole loneliness part. Until the day came where I actually sat down and looked at it. And I found out, what that theme or topic or challenge had to do with me, with my life. I looked at it. I was able to transform it. I was able to find my personal solution for it. Or not solution. Yeah, sort of like a solution. But, I was able to find that for myself and then transform it. And I know now that I can see the signs if at some point it starts happening. It hasn't in quite a while. And I know that it hasn't happened because I aligned it. I transformed this emotion, this specific challenge, the specific energy, I'm going to call it, energy form that was inside of my system. I was able to transform it, and now I don't feel it. In case it does come up inside of myself, I know what to do to I don't want to say to work around it, but to actually, quiet it down right away, right? But again, once you transform certain emotions, certain thoughts inside of yourself, they stop existing. So it could happen that I am absorbing it because my system does that. I always feel like, especially us empaths and highly sensitive people out there, we are sort of like the oysters of energies because we cleanse everything, right? So energy passes through our system. That's normal. That's our normal being. And usually, if we don't have anything inside of ourselves to where that energy can dock on, it just passes by. We watch it. It's like, oh. So now I can actually feel and watch and see how something just passes by. Like I can see that loneliness of someone maybe, pass by and go like, okay, I understand this. Like I have my own solution. I have my own description for it. And maybe I feel the invitation to actually say something to that person, or I don't. I just allow it to pass by because I know anyhow the person is going to, feel probably a little bit better afterwards. And that's their thing, but it wasn't mine, so it doesn't dock with me anymore. And that is the creator loop that we have. All of us, we have it. With whatever energy that enters your system, you can, in that moment, decide, do you want to stay in the victim mode and feel like, oh my God, it's that person's? And I'm doing it a little bit over the top. I know, I'm so sorry. And I still have days where it's like, oh my God, I just want to be in that mode. I know I'm going to walk out of it in a couple of hours or the next day, but it's also a feeling of feeling it, right? And so it's sometimes, because it is easier to just say it's that person's fault or that energy's fault, right? But the thing is, we are allowed to change that. And the more you recognize that for yourself, you decide, okay, I always call them self-pity parties. So I threw myself a pity party for one day. I allowed myself to be in victim mode for one day, and then I'm done. I'm ready. Okay, let's go. What can I do? I am the creator. I saw that kind of energy, and then the typical one: put your sleeves up, and start working and doing the work, going inside, looking inside of you, feeling into it. And again, here, same as always, the more you set your intention to finding the solution, you are going to find one. You're going to be able to find the solution for those things. They might not come right away. They might take one day or two, or sometimes a week or longer, depends on how open you are for the solutions, but they will come. Trust the process, trust that they come, and they will. That's one of the things that I love. And I hope this is what you take away from today's energy wave number 4, that we have this wonderful and beautiful thing that happens, that we can choose, whether we want to be inside of that victim loop, which is okay. It's okay to be in it, as long as you know that you can step out of it and go do the work, right? Because we don't want to stay in that victim. We might want to be in there for a little bit because we're so used to it. But then the good thing is we can choose, and then we go into the other loop and be the creative ones that we were made to be. All right, with that said, my beautiful one, if you are not already inside of my Cyber Coven, come join me. You'll find some free resources in there for this. And I am working currently on a wonderful new project. We are creating a membership where you can have even more resources inside. So stay tuned for that. And enjoy Energy Waves Inspiration number 4. And as always, please, if you feel something like this resonated with you, tell me, send me an email, let me know. I'm very curious on how these resonate with you. And if you practice these things, let me know how you're practicing them. With that said, many blessings, and give yourself a lot of grace. You're an amazing being.